Hi, folks. I am a software engineer by profession, and my son is on the autism spectrum. He's mild to moderately autistic and happens to be a high functioning autistic child. He's currently 7.5 years old, and um, even though he is a high functioning child, but there are many challenges that myself and my wife we have encountered, and I'd like to list some of those. And there are some ideas that I have on how the different kinds of computer software they can help in multiple ways, basically. So the challenges are that autism is a very complex neurological disorder. It's still not fully understood. It's an area of active research. There are likely genetic aspects. There are likely environmental aspects. There are likely dietary aspects. It has a lot of, you know, um relation with the gut health, the microbes that are there in the human gut, so on and so forth. In addition to that, to manage the various symptoms of autism, various kinds of methodologies are used. For example, we have various kinds of therapies which are very effective. The so-called occupational therapy, which is the OT, you know. Then there is the behavior therapy. There is a class of behavior therapies called ABA. That's very useful. And finally, there is a speech therapy, right? So these therapies, they really help. In addition to that, so I'll just list various factors here. So, I'll switch to, so there is speech therapy, etc. These are the kinds of therapies. And in addition to that, we have various other aspects. For example, we have the diet has a major impact. Diet. And of course, there is, uh, on occasions, medicines. And with respect to medicines, there are, various further categories depending on what one chooses. Um, and, different people choose different things. So, I'll list some things over here. There is traditional, mm, medicine. By traditional, I mean the, folks like folks who have an MD degree, um, you know, a neurophysician, pediatric neuropsychologist, and folks like that. Pardon me, not a neuropsychologist, pediatric neuropsychiatrist, people who deal with neurodivergent kids, right? So they prescribe medicines, for example, for ADHD, which is a typical comorbidity with ASD. All right. So in addition to this, you have other kinds of medicine, herbal. You have this upcoming, new field. Some people believe in it, some don't. Biomedical. Then there's this class called functional medicine, so on and so forth. So these are different aspects. This is uh, therapy. This is diet. These are medicines, and there is, of course, the lifestyle, activities. Let me, club it in activities over here. For example, jumping on trampoline. This is known to help on account of multiple reasons. It has its overlap with the occupational therapy. So, activities of various kinds, which are therapeutic. So let's say we club this. All right. So the challenge is that as parents of children on the spectrum, the autistic spectrum, autism spectrum, there's tons of stuff going on. We're indulging in therapy. We are seeing what diet works, what does not work. We are seeing, maybe we are using some herbal medicine, some biomedical or functional, or, there is homeopathic as well, right? So let's say this H stands for homeopathic. So there's a plethora of activities, it's just too much. And then you have to keep up to date on research, because uh, I have found that typically I found that in many cases that doctors are not really up to date on the research because they're usually uh, not bothered, because the cutting edge of research is way ahead of a typical medical practitioner, right? So the parent inevitably, especially those parents who have an analytical mind and can consume information, correlate it, they like to keep themselves up to date by reading up on what they can, right? But this is really too much, and it's complex. There's massive complexity, and the challenge is that I have faced this challenge myself. I'm still facing it, and let me list the challenge here. So just the bare minimum documentation, you know, simple things like documenting what's going on, right? Documenting what is going on. Let me change the color over here to something else, you know, maybe blue. So documenting changes in all above categories. So let's say I change some kind of a diet for my kid, For 1 week, I cut off the dairy. For 1 week, I cut off gluten. 1 week, 1 month, whatever, and so on and so forth. So I have to document it, and I have to um, see the correlation, right? And this is just the change in one category, which is diet, right? So likewise, uh, if I have change in, there's something new going on in the occupational therapy, and it correlates to some new behavioral manifestations of the child, I need to document it. I need to know what change happened in the therapy and what was its manifestation. Likewise for behavior therapy, likewise for speech therapy, and similarly in diet, what I added, what I subtracted, how did it change. Likewise for medicines, likewise for activities, what happened if I increased the time that I allow my kid to, jump on the trampoline. If I increase the time I take my kid out for swimming, let's say. Uh, and recently something happened that 2 weeks ago, I introduced swimming training to my child, and it immediately, excuse me, it immediately reflected in regression. And we found out that the likely culprit is chlorine in the swimming pools, right? So you see, activities, they have manifestations on the manifestations of autism and ADHD, and it's complex, right? So, for example, uh, fairly benign thing like swimming, right? It has significant impact, and if we don't keep up to date, if we don't have a handle on it, it's just bewildering. We just cannot understand and manage what's going on. Um, and then, of course, the symptoms themselves, right? So let's say the symptoms of, let me change the color. So the actual symptoms of the child, right, displayed by the child, correlated with other things mentioned so far. So it's a total mess unless one gets a handle on it, and it's not easy to get a handle at all. Because with the meltdowns of the child, with the daily hustle and bustle, dealing with the therapists, I'm sure people who are parents of autistic children, whether high functioning or not, um, and more so for high functioning, because they are uh, high functioning autistic kids are relatively easier to help, basically. So it gets really out of control. This complexity, it gets out of control. We just cannot manage it. There's so much going on across tons of dimensions. But over the last 4.5 years that my child has been diagnosed with autism and has shown dramatic improvement with therapies and nutritional intervention, we have been through ups and downs. We experiment things carefully. uh, I could not help but thinking for the last couple of months that, and of course, being a software engineer, a software professional myself, I could not help that, we there can be a software, an app, or something which can help maintain a handle on all of this, and give possibly new insights uh, into what's going on. And it can have reminders, which is relatively trivial, but as it gathers data, it provides child specific insights uh, that could be very useful, right, for the particular child, and extremely useful to get a handle on the situation. Moreover, what is also possible, certainly possible, is that with the presence of sensors in the modern mobile phones, you know, we have apps for tracking sleep and whatnot. We could have an integrated sleep quality gauge as well, things like that. And furthermore, if we have, if such an application is used by a reasonable amount of parents and children, and with their consent, anonymized data can be sent over to the server, and large scale data processing can be uh, done, basically, to find insights, to find patterns that are seen across uh, many patients, and that such a data would be very helpful for researchers of the field, and that insight in turn can potentially be given to the parents, to researchers, so on and so forth. So this is an idea that I believe must be pursued, and it has a lot of potential to do good in the society, to help the high functioning autistic kids, their parents, their families, and the society at large. Uh, Thank you for listening. These were my thoughts, and I thought, I wanted to share it on my channel. So maybe I'll continue this with another targeted video. Take care. Bye.